the personal, quiet space we have gained through the non-reactive expression of negative emotions and the resurfacing of the deep mind is a space of pure observation in which we are beyond the mechanical and conditioned behavior of the surface mind, and yet we are alert and aware. This space of pure observation is the fertile ground where one of the fundamental faculties of a human being, a legacy that belongs to us as magical being, can finally grow and manifest. The faculty that has been obscured to disempower us and make us an easy prey to the emotional currents induced by the opponent. The faculty that all traditions of inner research stimulate to come back in operation, through a huge number of different ways, everyone leading to the same result. The faculty that brings us back to be what we really are. The faculty of inner silence. Inner silence is the state of being in which any attempt of identification triggered by the opponent literally disappears because it is reabsorbed by the fire of attention. It is a state of extreme vigilance and awareness that springs from the absence of thoughts in the shape of consequential and associative words and images. It's a state in which the surface mind is in fact disconnected from the pure perception of our own existence, of our own being as a field of energy and consciousness. A state in which the surface mind does not determine and set the I am of a human being, because it is the I am who contains the surface mind, and not vice versa. In the state of inner silence, any attempt to trigger a disempowering spiral by the opponent is instantly recognized and let go, because the beginning of something that is not ours and we do not want is immediately recognized in it. This is what the inner silence can do for us in our reconquest, but that's not all. We can say that there is no limit to what we can achieve, express, and explore, increasingly deepening and strengthening this own forgotten faculty. The inner silence cannot be explained in words. It is very needed to act and work to understand it at all levels of our being, to realize its extreme importance in our lives. But luckily, on this path, all traditions of inner research support us, teaching a large number of procedures and disciplines to achieve it and root it, and we do only need to find and experiment the practices that mostly vibrate with our uniqueness. For example, all the disciplines brought together with the term meditation, they share, even in the wide variety of techniques that make them different, the same goal: to feed and raise in us the expansion of a perceptive space of inner silence. This is one of their main goals, in infinite ways, just one direction. This expansion of inner silence in us will lead, among innumerable benefits, the exponential expansion of our perception faculties as a result of the expansion of consciousness that is inextricably linked to the inner silence. And will be this amplified perception, this enhanced consciousness, that will inactivate more and more strongly the actions of the opponent's forces. In a human being, the more energy is available to the consciousness, the less energy is available to the opponent's forces. There is nothing more powerful in this energetic reconfiguration than the practice of inner silence. But how can we make space for the inner silence in our lives? Inner silence is a discipline that can be potentially practiced, and finally will be, seamlessly throughout our entire existence. How? Delivering our total attention about what is happening right now, redirecting as much as possible and as long as possible the attention we give our thoughts of the surface mind to the perceptions of the present moment gathered by our senses. For this practice is required nothing more than our life. At any time, let us remember to bring our attention within the confines of the present instant, detaching it from the surface mind. At any time and for any action we are doing, remember to be alive, present. Remember yourself, as Gurdjieff, inner researcher of the last century, called this discipline. Give our whole attention to the action we are doing. Meanwhile, collect information about ourselves and the environment with our senses. What is our posture? How are we breathing? Are we acting quietly, or are we feeling an inward discontent? What about the body and the place we are in? It is no coincidence that the discipline of resurfacing of the deep mind has similar aspects to the practice of inner silence. In fact, it's starting from the inner silence that the deep mind decodes in perception the reality coming in contact with our field of consciousness. This razor's edge of the present moment creates a dam that is literally inaccessible to the opponent. As long as we remain in this state, the opponent cannot drag us with it, because to do so, it needs that we believe in what he says. It needs that we fall back to the energy level of listening and automatic identification with the surface mind, with a consequent generation of emotional energy. This is one of the reasons why the inner silence is so important. When we are immersed in it, the opponent ceases to control our existence, and consequently, we gain a free space for the perception of those inner sources that are what we really are, which are expression of our lives and what we really want. Finally, we release in us the space to be who we really are. We need a great deal of energy at the beginning to continuously support this new state of being. Therefore, we must not lose patience if we can, just for a few seconds, but we must not desist from trying. After all, since many years we are used to act exactly the opposite, leaving free rein and giving our full attention to that uninterrupted chain of useless, senseless, and noisy associative thoughts with whom we identify, that bring us here and there to make actions that often we do not even want to do, just to quell the negative emotions that we perceive. Accompanying this practice, we can then decide to explore and select in the range of disciplines offered by all traditions of inner research, those directed to the expansion of inner silence that more vibrate in agreement with who we are and our preferences, and then turn them into a daily discipline. Achieving inner silence is not the prerogative of a practice rather than another, but it is only a prerogative of the unbending intent of those who want to achieve it. For this reason, there is no discipline better or worse than other on this path. What for me can be an effective way to explore the inner silence, for another human being can be really useless. It is responsibility of the individual human being to select the more congenial means to achieve the inner silence. But one of the wonderful consequences of our practice is that the consciousness itself, expanded by the inner silence, will suggest us, often by means that are completely similar to those used by the opponent, what discipline is right to try for rooting the inner silence even further. One day, we might be surprised to consider the possibility of studying in deep the Zen meditation. Or we will be driven to find in our area a yoga class. Or we will be driven suddenly to practice Tai Chi Chuan, or to learn playing a specific musical instrument at our best. Where did these sudden openings come from? From the space we have opened through the inner silence, from the space that through the inner silence connects us to the vastness of the infinite and to anything else in our wonderful universe. Inner silence is the gate of the infinite. There is no more effective tool than that, in the way that brings us to the wonderful life that we wish to live and we have the right to live, especially if we join the endless inspirations it suggests us with action. Expanding the inner silence means progressively inactivate all the automatic instincts of the opponent, up to convert the opponent itself in a set of forces allied to our intent of manifesting a wonderful life. Expanding the inner silence means living fully our destiny of magical human beings in a wonderful universe. Either you let the reins of our life in the hands of the opponent, or you strive to awaken the magic, the strength, the power, the consciousness that are in you and are your legacy and your right as human being, without any distinction. This choice is in every single breath we inhale, in every single thought we nourish, in every single word we say, in every single action we do. The aim of our existence is to choose at any time one of these two paths, one of these two possibilities. A choice of each instant, each second, each moment in which escape is impossible.